Small talk, Dick?
So small, so small.
Small talk.
So, you have a busy day today, don't forget to.
So where have you been today? I mean, I know you said it was busy, or yesterday. I know you guys stay busy.
Right, so on Saturday, we went down to Benson first, then Tucson, then back home. And most of us had something back home too. And yesterday was service for a good friend, Butch. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, from your LD. And, it's a very sad thing, but he's
Especially
a
when
brother
you
in
see him
Christ.
during Christmas. Remember we saw
Yeah.
him during Christmas?
Yeah.
He was at our Christmas party, and our LD Christmas party, and he was there, and his wife did tell us he was very sickly at that time. And
Which
then-
LD are you in?
I'm an LD 25,
Oh, okay.
right? You're
Oh, okay.
23.
So he was a guest
Yeah.
at our LD that day, and it was so sad because he was talking to everybody, and the next day he passed away, or 2 days after?
The last thing Butch said to me, he'd get a big hug, and he said, Bob, he goes, you're my last hurrah. I go, what do you mean? He goes, after I get you elected, he says, I think I'm gonna take it easy for a while. You're it. And, well, we're not supposed to start the show crying. What are you doing to me, George? Jeez.
But it was nice to see him, and we knew he was sickly, but he was so full of spirit.
He was.
You know,
Oh my God, what a patriot, right? There's people that wanna moan and groan, and there's a lot of them out there. And there's other people that will actually say something, then go behind. But there's very few leaders out there, right? And, Butch was just a leader. I mean, he was willing to take the effort and willing to,
okay,
so.
Welcome to your Chips and Salsa show. This is Don Jorge El Alacran with another candidate for the state GOP. He's our third candidate today, and this is Dr. Branch. We've had him on the Chips and Salsa show once or twice. I know at least twice that I know, and now he's here again. He's got I like him because he's had a really long history of helping the party, helping the Republican Party, serving in positions that had to show leadership, and he did. You were chairman of the
LD 13,
but
chairman of the year.
the Parks and Recreation.
Oh, yeah.
And he ran that for how many?
7 terms.
7 terms.
Yeah.
They kept re-electing him, and he did such a good job. He got the money out, which he's going to talk about in a minute here. I respect him a lot. He's a professor at one of the universities. He's been that doctor in front of his name is for a reason. And Dr. Branch, I respect him a lot. And to get somebody to respect somebody, they have to prove themselves, and Dr. Branch has proved himself more than once. Before we start, I want to introduce my co-host, Cheryl Rosado, and Cheryl, it's yours.
Thank you. So before we start, I don't know, George, but before we can go any further, I want to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors. Because of them, we are able to have Dr. Bob on the show. So thank you to our sponsors like Elected Leadership for SRP.com, which is the group running for the different district councils and the board. We have Chris Dobson, Barry Paisley, Rusty Kennedy, and of course, Mr. Kelly Cooper, who we've had on the show many, many times. And you've probably seen them around if you're involved at all, because they've been hitting up all the Republican Club meetings and LD meetings, and they're very serious. So check them out, Elected Leadership for SRP.com. We also have Camelou Air, which is air conditioning and plumbing, and National Automotive Repair, which is a wonderful mechanic right off the 17. If you need something done with your car, you need some AC or plumbing done, check out our sponsors, tell them we sent you. And now let's talk to Dr. Bob.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. You were saying I was on a couple times. I was just looking at this monitor here. I think my beard was a little darker back then. I was a little bit more younger when we first started together, George. And that was about 16 years ago, I think, first time. And, this is we always say every year, or it seems like every 2 years, this election, it means more than anything else, right?
Right.
And we were very successful the last election by getting President Trump elected, and that was wonderful. But many people think that that was the end and not the beginning, right? And we got to get people elected now too, and we got to get people energized now.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are going into another election year, not an election cycle, but an election year without a chairman. And that puts us in a really bad spot. So, yeah, I stepped up the day that Gina announced that she was resigning. I threw my hat in the ring. I said, listen, I want to help this party, but I don't want it to continue along the way that it has been going. Because every 2 years, we end up basically starting from scratch, from zero. We have no money, or, sometimes in the hole. We have no leadership. So every 2 years we start again. And I want to break that cycle. I have plans now to put into place to make like fundraising ongoing effort, whether a chairman's there or not, and get out the vote, all those activities and training, the PCs and at the counties and out down at the LDs. It's really extremely important, and I think that that's what we want to do, and that's why I'm bringing it closer.
Does that mean then that if you are successful on Saturday, you will be running again in 27 for chair?
Oh, beyond a doubt, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And if you're not successful on Saturday, will you still run?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what that is. If the body wants me,
Mm-hmm.
I want to guarantee that there'll be continuity between now and through the next presidential cycle. And I think that's extremely important. I think by that time, George and I will be ready to retire. What do you think?
That's right.
More bass fishing,
Yeah.
something like that. But and yes, we need continuity. And unfortunately, we didn't have that. Jeff DeWitt resigned and Gina got in. Now Gina's resigning, and we need continuity, and we don't have it. And that's unfortunate. And, but something that distinguishes what I'm wanting to do and what my other candidates, because I have nothing bad to say about my other candidates. If you knew me in my last race with the County Board of Supervisors, I didn't like my opponent. I made that well known. But I like my opponents. My opponents are nice people. And if we are running for senior class president, I don't think that you could pick a bad one out of the bunch. But that's not what we're running for. We're running for our state. We're running to make our state red again. And I have the plans to be put into place because I think it's extreme. Well, you're business people. Let me ask you this. Would you start a business that you knew that every 2 years you had to start brand new with no money or in the hole in new leadership?
That's hard. That's hard to do.
Oh, you couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. And it's not sustainable. But that's what we Republicans do every 2 years. And now with people resigning every year. And it's just ridiculous. We can't do that. So I'm the only one with a plan that says, okay, let's establish let's look at what the labor looks like, and let's look at what the fundraising looks like, and let's put those into place. And when we put these into place, it will not be dependent on the chairman. It will be dependent on just the party moving forward. And that's exactly what we want to do. And, like I said, I have nothing against the other candidates. I just happen to have a plan.
But when you were in Parks and Recreation, when you first got in there, they were in dire straits.
They
right?
were, yeah.
And what did you do?
Well,
You served 7 terms. Right?
yeah, and I'll tell you what, again, looking at the monitor, when Max Wilson tapped me on the shoulder to become his commissioner of Park and Rec for Maricopa County's District 4, I looked at Max and he said, Bob, I want you to be commissioner. And it was like, Max, what the heck do I know about parks? He goes, well, Bob, you're a businessman. And I said, Max, I am. He goes, and you're a professor. And I said, yeah. He goes, you'll figure it out. It was like, okay. Well, I got in, and that was right at the bubble burst. We had to sell our Capitol building. We had to sell some executive buildings. We were in dire straits, right? The county was, not financially solvent. Neither was the state. It was a bad time. And, then Max put me in there, and it turns out that the first thing I said was, hey, we may have to shut down some parks temporarily. And it was like, well, we don't want to do that. I just got on board. What do I have to do? And it's like, we got to raise money. And it was like, kind of sounds like the GOP, right? We have to raise money because we have no money. We're going into an election with no money. Well, what I did is I sat down because the businessman hat, the professor hat, I analyzed everything and I said, well, we have a Lake Pleasant pass that's about $150, $160, somewhere around there. That not a lot of people were using, but people with boats were using that. Then we had the other park pass, which is about $65. And that included all the parks except Lake Pleasant. And it was like, well, wouldn't these people like to go to Lake Pleasant too? And could we sell more park passes if we sold more park passes if we combined them and made it a lesser thing but gave more to the lower one? And sure enough, we did. We generated a lot of money with that. We made a park pass that was about $85, but I took care of veterans as well. I said, listen, you're a veteran, you get to, we got some veterans there. I'm former Air Force too, and I see an Air Force guy right there. But I took care of the veterans. And what I mean by that is, a lesser lesser rate, and, especially disabled veterans. But I also took care of seniors, and it wasn't a conflict of interest then because I wasn't a senior then, but I sure enjoy it now. But I took care of that, and we were able then to keep the parks open. We were able then to have more money to update the parks, and we were able to have more money to build more campsites. And eventually we had more money to buy like Hacienda River Preserve out in Wickenburg and buy 1,100 acres from the Bureau of Land Management. Can you imagine that? Being able to buy land from the Bureau of Land Management. They're the ones that take the land. So we are able to buy land, about a little over 1,100 acres. And now that park is Vulture Mountain Regional Park, and that will give you access in perpetuity to about 90,000 acres of Sonoran Desert. And what a deal that was. So we grew that, because it's a board, we grew that from pretty much obscurity to the #1 regional park system in the United States. But during COVID, everything was shut down, right? And we were told that, we need to make sure that we were told to shut down. And it didn't make any sense. How do you shut down the outside? That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the Board of Supervisors said, you really told them no? And I said, well, sure. Yeah, I work for you. And they said, why'd you say no? And I said, it's over 100 degrees outside. It's 12% relative humidity. There's not a virus in the world that lives in those conditions. And if they can show me one, I'll shut down really quickly. To the board's, they backed that play, and we kept open all the time during that. Another thing is Joe Foss fired a shooting range, right? That was one of my parks. And veterans like, yeah, all right. So Joe Foss shooting range, the Board of Supervisors, which was one of our parks, took that park and gave it to the sheriff's department when Skinner was the sheriff, and they closed it down to the public. And it was like, well, wait a second, you can't do that. And it was like, well, I said, the memorandum of understanding with BLM on that land says it has to be used for public. Well, the Board of Supervisors said, well, you know what, if the sheriff's department's training on it, then it is for the public. And it was like, no, that's BS. So the troops got rallied over in Buckeye. We went to the press. I went down to the Board of Supervisors, and it was like, you've got to keep it open. They did. They kept it open. Then I was asked for my resignation. So, but it's worth it, folks. Anything that I can do in my lifetime to help, especially keep our, Constitution the way that it should be, and keep things the way that they should be, I'm all in favor of. So,
what are your plans for the rural counties this cycle?
Well, that's really good. Right now, what we have is we elect for the state in the Republican Party 27 members at large.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm one of them.
yes, well, each congressional district has 3 for the state. and not county, but for the state. Then we have a first vice chair, second vice chair, and third vice chair.
Mhm.
Currently, right now, if you look on the website for AZGOP, it only lists the chairman, the treasurer, the secretary, and the 2 national committee man and woman. That's it.
The statutory offices.
No, first, second, and third vice chair
Those are the statutory offices.
are not being used right now. The current chairman is not using those 3 people right now. The MAUs are not getting jobs to do right now. Now, if you look at my plan, I have a plan for every one of those positions. It's not fair that we elect them, we send them up there, and they're not used. Now, you said that you're a MAU. Are you
Yeah,
getting
I was
used?
just gonna
a
say,
lot?
when you go to the chair and you ask for something to do, I've always been given something to do. So
You shouldn't be having to ask the chair what to
I
do.
have asked the chairs that were chairmen, and I had a chair who did not respond. Yeah, we'll get to you later, and I never heard anything. And then the current chair is, I said, I would like to do this. I would like to be on a committee. I was put on a committee. I was able to do what I said. When the call went out, hey, we're having a state fair and we need the MAUs to step up, I really didn't hear from a lot of them.
It's
So
unfortunate.
there has to be a balance between like wanting, like you said, they're elected, but it is also a volunteer thing. You can't make people do something.
Well, but you're not making you to it. You looked at everybody and you said, elect me.
Mhm.
Okay, great. I'm a volunteer, right?
Mhm.
If you elect me as your chairman, I'm a volunteer, but I'm gonna work my tail off.
Right.
Because I'm
But
telling
not,
you.
what I'm saying is not everybody who is elected has that.
Well, but that's the thing. They should.
They should. Of
Okay,
course.
they should.
They should. And
So
we,
my
that's why
first
we wanted to
position-
like pass
Yeah.
bylaws and stuff, which we did at the last meeting to try and help people.
Yeah, well, the chairman, the way that I have my division of labor set up, my first vice is going to be the COO. They're going to be in charge of operations, making sure everything runs smoothly according to our bylaws and everything. It's very important.
Mhm.
Then the second vice chair is going to be responsible for the counties. What I mean by that, you said the rural and the counties. There's a bunch of things I want to do. I want to do joint fundraising with the counties. I want to have meetings at all of the counties throughout the 2-year term. And I want to have also organizing with the LDs, and that's going to be the third vice chair. The MAUs are going to be 27 of them going to be divided up between the 3, and they will be used. And not only that, I'm looking at the voters right in the eye, and I'm telling you right now, you vote for me, and if the first vice chair isn't doing their job or the second vice chair, I'm going to let you know that they're not doing the job. Not because they're bad people, and not because there may be personal reasons, but this state can't run without them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let people know that there needs to be a vacancy made and we need to get another first vice chair or something. But as the head of the Republican Party for the state, you are kind of like the CEO, right? If we look at Trump and business, I'm a business person. You look at that, we have to run it like a business. And if a person's not working out for whatever reason, we need to replace that person. We just can't ignore them. We just can't say, okay, I'm not going to use those people. Well, those are tools that we gave you to use, and you're not using them. And I don't think that that's right. So you will be used, very much so, in our administration. And that's the way I look at it.
What about voter integrity? Could you talk election integrity? Could you say
Yeah,
a
well,
few words about that?
It's funny. I was at one of the LDs, George, and the question was asked to me, what are you going to do for election? What have you ever done for election integrity? I said, well, wait a second here. I just ran for Maricopa County because I was recruited because they wanted Mr. Clint Hickman out. And I went in to run for election integrity. But go back to 2018, and I was on your show at that time. I was running for superintendent of public instruction for the state. That race, we went all over the state. This state's 3 times the size of Ohio. I mean, a lot of people don't understand it. Maricopa County, that county is larger than New Jersey. That's how big this county is. This state is huge. So went all over this state, and my motto at the time was to dismantle the United States Department of Education. Okay, and I'll get back to that in a second, but at election night, I was winning. The next morning, I was losing. Next day, I was winning. And it went back and forth the rest of that week and all next week. At 5 o'clock, they declared me the victor of the race. Only to come back in and say about an hour later, no, Maricopa County gave revised numbers. You lost by 249 votes. That was Adrian Fontes' first election. So I called up the head of the Republican Party at that time, and I said, what are you going to do about it? And it was like, I'm down at the lake here with my family. I'm not going to do anything about it. Wow. Could you imagine if we would have done something about Adrian Fontes during the first election, the first time that this happened? But of course, then it happened again and again and again. So I ran to get rid of the machine in 2020, in the last election, and same day paper ballots, precinct level voting. That's where we have to be, folks. And so what am I doing for election integrity? That's what I stand up for. I put my money where my mouth is. I ran. I was out there, and quite frankly, we didn't have, the right outcome in that election. We should have had somebody down there on the board.
You weren't able to challenge it?
Well, no, the Adrian Fontes one, no. I wasn't, well, I take that back. Anybody can challenge anything. We went and seen the lawyer. Lawyer said it would be about $10 million for the first 10 days. And it was like, no. If the party's not willing to do it, right? If the party's not willing to do it, it's like, well, what guarantees success will I have?
So what would you say to the state committeemen attending the state meeting this Saturday? What would you say to them, how to prepare for the meeting and what to look for in the candidates that because I know you said they're all good candidates, including yourself, but what do you want them to have in a frame of mind when they're
let's back that up. I said they're nice people. I didn't say they're good candidates. I said they're nice people. I'm not going to say anything bad about them. But here's the thing that I'd like to say to all the PCs out there and the state committeemen. I'd like to say to you that we can keep doing the same thing over and over again. We can keep doing every 2 years where we start from zero. We can keep this whole nonsense going. And the other three candidates, that's what they're willing to do. I want a new way. Trump has shown us a new way. Trump has a history of just, destructing things, rebuilding them, and making them much, much better. And that's what I want to do with our party. We got 1.65 million Republicans out there in the state of Arizona registered. We got another 750,000 sitting on the sideline registered as others. If we would just commit to like $5 a year for these Republicans, we'd have $24 million every election cycle. But no, we pray to God. We pray to that Lord above. Please deliver us a chairman, a Messiah that can do everything, cure everything. And that's just a ridiculous concept. I'm here to build in systems to make us a very strong Republican Party. And not only are we going to be red again, but we will be bright red, like the first time you and I worked together.
That's right. And he's a businessman. He's a professional. And he's had a proven record. That's all I have to say about that.
I have one question. I wanted to ask clarification on something from one of your mini forums that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Is there furniture at the ACCOP office? Inquiring minds really want to.
So we were out at LD. Here's what happened. I went, Gina, the current chairman, was very nice. She invited me over to take a tour. Now she was saying, well, this desk is going with me. This is mine. That credenza over here is mine. This is mine. This is mine. And it's sparsely, populated with furniture to begin with. So I took that to mean there's not gonna be anything there, okay? I was in LD 27 and I made that statement. And the next morning, Gina Sloboda, Chairman Sloboda, called me up and said, no, Bob, we have 3 storage units filled with furniture. I called up Carol Iott, very first person, and I apologized to her. I said, I'm very sorry if I misled anybody, but that was my understanding. I also talked to Pam Kirby about it and talked to the other people about it. And I made a mistake based on my observation and what I was told. So I want to apologize for everything that saying that, but.
I actually heard you say that EGC. I was at the EGC and you said like, there's no furniture.
Well, yeah, but I was finally called out on it at Carol Iott's at LD 27 because they were texting Gina saying, where's all the furniture? Okay, now let's talk about money though. How much money do we have? And that's the scary thing. She hasn't been able, because, she's resigning for a reason. She's running for CD1, but, she hasn't been able to, they partitioned her off from fundraising. So, and that's a bad thing. I mean, we need money. So I want to apologize to you about furniture. We have furniture. I hope somebody on Sunday will help me move it into our, you'll be there, George? Okay.
He's got a truck.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
After
Very good. Very good.
Well, thank you for coming on our show.
It's always an honor. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The Chipsters know him. The Chipsters have seen him before. He's a great candidate, a great Republican. He's done a lot for the Republican Party, and he will do a lot more for the Republican Party. So Chipsters, remember Dr. Branch at the state meeting.
Very good. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
So much for being here.
Well, thank you.
And we'll see everyone on Saturday. And next up, Pam Kirby. Pam Kirby's next.
Yeah, she'll be there.